So another fantastic data analysis tool that you can use in your Excel spreadsheets is the use of the if functions. And so we'll take a look at the if, average if, SUMIF, COUNTIF. Once you see this a couple times, you're going to get the hang of it very quickly, especially if you can use the sum and count and min-max and things like that. So for example, it helps you ask questions of your data like this. How many teams had 8 draws or more? Well, let's take a look. Now, in a table like this, we can just simply count it up very quickly, but this is a relatively small table. Imagine a table with 2,000 rows or 20,000 rows. It would be a lot harder. You would need to automate this. So we can automate this with a if function. So let's do an equal sign to start the function, and then the function that we're concerned with here is count, C-O-U-N-T. And you see in the list of functions here that tries to autofill, you see COUNTIF. So you can give that a click and then hit tab on your keyboard, and then you will specify the range and the criteria. Now, one of the ways you can do that is with the hyperlink here, but I think the easiest way to complete the function is to go up here in the formula bar and insert the function. So you can give that a click. It brings up the function arguments. So now you can see how this function is put together. First, you select a range. So we're looking for the draws column. So you can click here and then select your range. Whoop, I selected too far, so I'll just reselect. So there we go. I selected the range. Of course, you can type in the range manually. And you can also click once and then Control-Shift down arrow to make sure you select a range. So it could be especially helpful if you're dealing with hundreds or thousands of rows of information. So I'll click on Enter there. I'll hit Enter on the keyboard. And now the criteria is this. I am looking for cells that match this criteria, 8. So 8 draws. And I'll get to the O or more in just a second. So we're just doing a reference here. So I'll hit Enter, and now I'm ready to go. Click on OK. And now, how many teams had 8 draws? 3. 1, 2, and 3. The results match. Now, we've done a count for the teams that had 8 draws in this table of information. Now, let's look at 8 draws or more. How could I do that? Well, all I would really have to do is edit the function. So I could give that a click, and on the criteria, I could do greater than the cell reference, or I could just type it in manually. So if I'm looking for 8 or more, I could, in this case, type in greater than 7. So I click on OK, and it's counting. I have 8 teams that had 8 or more draws in the draws column. So let's repeat this for another example here. What was the average points for teams with 9 draws? In this case here, I'd use the average if function. So if it meets a certain criteria, I'm going to calculate the average. Average points for teams with 9 draws. Well, first I have to do average and average if. Hit the tab key on the keyboard, and now I select my range and my criteria. I'll do this, click on the function button in the function bar, click on the function button in the formula bar, and I'll first select the range, so the number of draws, and then hit enter. And then the criteria, if they're matching 9, so average points for teams with 9 draws, and then what am I going to average? The average range, it's going to be points. So again, I will select that whole range and press enter. And now I'll click on OK. And when I'm done, the average number of points for teams that had 9 draws is 47.4. Want to check your math to make sure it's right? That's one of the reasons why we use relatively small tables, so that we can build an understanding of what we're doing with some of these functions. So it's relatively easy to do. I can just extract the teams that have 9 draws, and in fact, I've done that down here. So LAFC, FC Dallas, Portland, LA Galaxy, and San Jose all had 9 draws, and this was the number of points. If I select that range, look here, there's the average, 47.4. So as you probably have already seen, you can use this to do a wide variety, just a multitude of data analysis operations. And the other thing you can do is that you can use this if function to populate another row or column of data. For example, if I just wanted to identify teams with 8 draws and have some kind of piece of text flag those teams or those items, I could build an if function to do just that. Let me give you an example. Start with the equal sign once again. We'll type in if. I will hit tab on the keyboard. Now it's going to give me the logical test, the values if true, the values if false. So let's come up here to the function button in the formula bar up here. And the logical test is that this draws column, the number here, F20 in this case, equals 8. That is the evaluation that I'm asking the if function to do. So if F20 equals 8, then I type in yep, and then if it's false, nope, something like that. So I'll click on OK, and then yep is the result because the evaluation, if F20 equals 8, and it does, then the result is yep. Now, is this cell, when I evaluate F21, is it going to equal 8? No. So I should expect, if I autofill, that the result will be nope, and indeed it is. And if I look at the formula in this cell, F21 equals 8, the evaluation is false, and the result is nope. So I can do this for the entire range, something like that. So these teams, as we can see with the yep, had 8 draws on the season. So that is how you use the if functions as you do data analysis in your spreadsheets.